All right, guys, so you've finished your petals now for your initial shape. Now we're gonna start working into shading and giving it some variation of color in these as well to really start to get them to pop. So what we're gonna do first, we're still gonna have our medium brush here, rounded at the top and square at the bottom. And so what we're gonna do now is we're gonna take that red and we're gonna take a big old scoop of red and we're just gonna use a little tiny bit of black in it. So barely, I mean tiny, tiny. You're just gonna barely touch that in there. We want this to be kind of just a dark maroon. So I'll kind of show you guys this color as I get it mixed here. Takes a second, especially sometimes you just want to make sure it's a nice solid color. Otherwise, once in a while you get a pocket of black that peeks in. So there we go. I'm going to put it against my hand there so you can kind of see that. And it's going to act as a shadow. So you can see that right in these areas back here. And what we're going to do is we're just going to start adding this in. Once again, kind of heavier on your brush, the better. This is really gestural. So it's not going to be, you know, perfect and blended. You're going to see the brush strokes, and that's what really helps make this one kind of pop and work really well. So I like to start kind of right in this middle leaf. I'll show you this one right here. And you're just going to be adding that accent through. If you feel like you're not getting a dark enough accent, add a little more black to it. That's no problem. You just go right back over the top. No problem at all. And then what I'm going to do is kind of stick to different levels here. And it's going to be on these lower ones, kind of this top edge a little bit more, definitely towards the back a little heavier here, because that's where it's going to be kind of in shadow a little bit more. And then kind of on this side, you're going to get the back side on the left a little bit more and down towards the stem. A lot of this is going to get kind of covered back up anyway, so don't feel really nervous about exactly where you're placing it. There's a reason we do this as our next step. You're just going to be moving it through, giving yourself those shadows and that variation. There's really no right or wrong here, because with the different directions and the other things growing around and nature in general, there is no true kind of formula. There's always a little bit, but no true formula, so you're just fine. Just whatever makes you feel comfortable. You can always go back as well if you don't like what you've done and just add red back in on top. No worries, this whole thing, you can just always go back and add back the colors that we're using. So the reds and this dark color if you need to, any of those continuously. So this is where we're gonna start defining a little bit more. There's an edge of this petal right here, and I'm just gonna kind of chase around it a little bit and then work outward for that other petal that's behind it. And then from this one, it's just gonna be down a little bit towards the bottom and around this other edge. Nothing really exciting, just kind of pushing that color around. And then same over here, I'm gonna go around the bottom edge and up into the top of this petal, and then right just on the edge of where that other petal kind of goes right over the top. Just pushing those colors around and helping that shadow be a little more prominent. And then up here as well, just kind of working through there. That was probably a little thick, but hey, whatever. No worries, every once in a while, we all do it, right? And then this one as well to give it a little bit more of that variation and definition for sure. We're just gonna push right into where it switches and makes that all work together. And then I have a tiny one right here, and I'm gonna give it a little bit heavier shading because it's hanging out right in the back. I really want it to kind of show through a little bit more. All right, so that is that step. Once you get that dark color on, we're gonna come back and we're gonna do a little bit more. And so pause the video if you want to work on that for a second. I'm gonna go ahead and jump into our next color. Once again, working wet on wet with this process, so don't feel like you have to wait for it to dry. If you are having trouble, feel free to let it dry a little bit more. Everybody works a little bit differently. That's why no two paintings are ever the same. So if you need to, let it dry for a second. Otherwise, I'm gonna jump into our next little mix here to show you guys what we're gonna do. And this one is gonna be a little bit of a lighter color. We're gonna go kind of a peach here. You can kind of see it shining through. And so what we're gonna do is that red with a little bit of yellow in it. So it gives us a little bit more of an orange, and then white. We wanna lighten this up quite a bit because we really want it to show through. Once again, I'll pop this brush up here and show you guys in front of the camera what this is looking like. Once I get it all mixed together here. It does always take a minute for me. Want a little bit more white in there. Thanks for being patient. All right, so it's definitely kind of a fleshy, kind of peach color here. You can, once again, if you want to, add a little bit of water. The more water you start adding into these layers though, you are going to notice that it fades back and you have a little bit more trouble getting it to be really vibrant. But what we're gonna do, I'm gonna start right here in the middle because this is gonna be where it's kind of the most prominent. You're just gonna start with quick strokes, just kind of pulling that color into your petals. And it can go as much or as little as you want to. We really want that red to still shine through, so you don't wanna go too heavy. But kind of just same thing, almost the opposite of what we were doing with the shadows. You want to give it a little bit more of an accent. But don't cover up all your red because you really want that beautiful, vibrant magenta to show through. There's just going to be a few spots where you kind of choose to pop this little color in as well. And because we're working wet on wet, you will get some blending. That kind of natural blending is really nice because with the flowers and florals especially, you're not always gonna have the same amount. So it just gives it that wonderful natural look. But you just wanna continue doing that kind of throughout, shaping that around your petals a little bit. It will blend with both that red and the black that we just laid on, or that dark maroon, I should say. And so you're just gonna continue kind of throughout to give that color in certain areas, as much or as little as you'd like to. The more you have on your brush, the more prominent it's going to end up being on each petal as well. You just want to work through that, and then we're going to work from either top to bottom. You can move around as much as you'd like to. I'm going to come down here and give kind of a nice big portion of this one. And then if you work your brush back in, you'll get even more blending. So it's up to you kind of how much you want that to live there. Be free with your strokes though, and be just like confident that what you're doing is right. You absolutely are correct. You just need to continue working through that. And if you need to, layer back into other colors. If it goes too far, no problem. That's why it is here. We're just gonna push those colors right around. So continue on. And then we'll come back in just a second. I'll take a little break and switch videos for you. That way you don't get too overwhelmed. And we'll come right back. All right.